Here's our headliner today, Mercedes Schlapp, live from the White House. You know, listen, Mercedes, you can go ahead and sell this economic report in a moment here. But I just think as an economist, you can find negative news in anything you want. Right? It's just chart after chart after chart and number after number. Anyway, frame it for us. Best number in 18 years? Go ahead.
Here over at Pebble Beach, I'm seeing Larry Kudlow basically with a big smile on his face and dancing down the driveway here because, as we know, the economy remains incredibly strong. I mean, in 2018, we're still at a pace of making more gains in terms of jobs per month than in the last 2 years. I mean, when you're talking about the fact that the unemployment number this month is at 3.9%, that alone, Bill, I mean, you could just see we've hit that 8 times in history. It's the 8th time we've hit it in history since 1970. These are significant numbers. Our economic fundamentals are strong. There is no question that because of President Trump's leadership, his vision on terms of pushing forward economic policies like tax cut and tax reform, in addition to his deregulatory agenda, it's working.
But Mercedes, the question is the president communicating that message, and is he doing it well enough? Kimberly Strassel has a piece in the Wall Street Journal this morning where she's basically saying you got a lot to tout here, but there's a lot of distraction at the same time. Her piece, failure to communicate. Trump's got a solid record, but he's too busy making noise to tout it. She writes, what is clear is that this White House is doing an able job of whiffing one of the best political messages in decades, a reality that is demoralizing administrative insiders and GOP candidates alike.
Well, there's no question that, I mean, Kimberly should probably watch the rallies and watch what the president has done in the past few weeks. He was over in Granite City talking about in actually a company that came back and is employing and is having jobs here in Granite City where for steel workers, and where he's gone to Iowa and Tampa talking about workforce development and also talking about the great economic success story in America. So the president talks about the economy every day. And we know that many times it's going straight into these local communities where it matters most, where we're seeing the revitalization of communities because of the president's economic record. And that's a message we're going to keep talking about through the end of the year and beyond.
I think you can hang your hat on a lot of very good news in this economy in the past year and a half. I grant you that. And then we get moments like last night in Pennsylvania. Go ahead and roll soundbite number 2, guys. This is about the potential for a government shutdown. I know he really wants this wall. I just don't know about the tactic. You explain this in a moment. First from last night.
The Democrats, anything I want, and it's not even the Republicans. I don't know if they care about the Republicans. They care about me. They're very concerned. Anything I want, they want to oppose. You know, I just figured out how to do the wall. I'll say, I don't want to build a wall, and they'll insist on building it. I just figured that out right now.
It was a pretty funny moment. I don't want the wall, and you'll give it to me then. Why the threat of a shutdown? How does that advance his cause for border security? How does that contribute to a roaring economy right now, Mercedes?
Well, I mean, because we do have a crisis on the border, and because of the fact that for Democrats now their message has become that of abolishing ICE and that of open borders, which of course would lead to more crime. So it's because the Democrats have obstructed all along the way, while the president came in with a compromise in terms of ensuring that we would be able to secure our border, that we would be able to close the legal loopholes, in addition to providing a pathway to citizenship for the DACA recipients. This was it's actually a plan that the vast majority of Americans agreed on, and yet the Democrats have made this decision of just pushing forward open borders, of allowing this crisis on the border where illegal aliens are crossing the border and then just ending up in our country, which is just, there is a legal way to do this.
But you also have to admit that you have the majority in the House and you have the majority in the Senate.
Bill, come on, you know how this works. You know in the Senate you're going to need 60 votes. You know in the fact that we just don't reach those numbers, you're going to need the Democrats to come on board. It's very clear. And as we know, when it comes to safety in our communities, when it comes to pushing forward legal immigration, as opposed to allowing illegal aliens to just come over, cross the border illegally, and then end up in the United States, there has to be a way that we're able to stop this. And it starts with funding the wall, which, as we know, the wall is shown to work. Well, you know, this is something that the president's going to work and see if he can get the Democrats on board. Okay. Thus far, what we've seen from the Democrats is pure obstruction.
The president went on, he's campaigning for Lou Barletta. He needs a much-needed boost. Whether or not Trump's going to give them that, we'll see. But here he is doing so.
And most importantly, get your friends, get your neighbors, and get out and vote for an incredible champion, an incredible winner, Lou Barletta. With your help, your voice, and your vote, we are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning. We are going to win so much, perhaps some of you, but not all, will get tired of winning.
Will President Trump give Barletta the much-needed boost that he needs?
Well, I can't talk specifically about elections, but what I can talk about is that the president's economic policies are working. The mere fact that we are seeing true, I mean, there was one article that actually came out not long ago of really seeing hope and change happening in these communities, much needed communities, in terms of manufacturing jobs coming back, construction jobs coming back. Even those who don't even have a high school diploma, their unemployment is down at a record level. Unemployment rates for Hispanics, African Americans, women across the board are benefiting because of President Trump, his economic policies, and obviously the strength that he brings through what we've seen in terms of pushing forward for denuclearization in North Korea, as well as continuing to work with our allies in making sure that we have strong national security.
I think you've got a really good story to tell and a really good story to sell. And we're going to find out on Tuesday to some measure of how the American people are feeling. You got a special election in Ohio, Congressional District 12, the Republicans Balderson, the Democrats O'Connor. The latest poll, Monmouth, shows about a 1-point difference. Now, this was a district the president won by about 11 points, I think, in 2016. Here's the tweet from last night. Looking forward to being in the great state of Ohio on Saturday night, where I will be campaigning hard for a truly talented future Congressman, Troy Balderson. See you all then. We'll see what happens on Tuesday, but the polling is very tight, and I don't know what explains that. Is this the flight of suburbanites on the administration? How would you characterize that, Mercedes?
Well, and there's no question that anyone who aligns themselves with the president, I mean, he brings a winning message. He is the one who is able to help so many of these individuals. As we know, at the end of the day, it's because of President Trump's policies that we're seeing such success. And I have to tell you, I mean, just seeing him in action, he's results-oriented. It's why he's not just going to give up in terms of and working on trade deals. As we know, we're getting close on the NAFTA deal with Mexico, as well as continuing to put pressure on China to stop these abuses of the trading practices, which no other president had ever really forcefully done. And we're seeing movement in that area as well. So I think what you're seeing, you just saw Vice President Pence coming back with the remains of those fallen soldiers from North Korea, again, pushing North Korea in a direction to basically live up to their promise. This is a president who is a nonstop working machine.
Hey, Mercedes, what this morning is the talk inside the White House after that moment in the White House press briefing yesterday, a contentious moment between Sarah Sanders and Jim Acosta of CNN. He pressed her to say that the press is not the enemy of the people. He ended up walking out of the briefing.
You know, fake news is dangerous. And we know for a fact that many of the so-called news reporters, okay, that go out there have a complete disdain for President Trump. It's no wonder that we've seen that 90% of the media coverage for President Trump has been negative. What American people want to see is fair, objective coverage. And quite frankly, you've had reporters who cried the day that President Trump won, and they obviously show their bias. And so I think that's incredibly troubling. And for that being said, the president has to defend himself. The president and those of us in the administration who have been blamed and have been called names by journalists. And, you know, we really want to be able to talk about the president's winning message. And it's very hard when you have reporters who prefer to see themselves on camera all the time, and many of the liberal media who have complete disdain for this president and refuse to acknowledge any of the positive work that he's doing.
Well, I don't think you should be defensive about this. you need to go on offense. And I know that's a big part of why you came on today. And we're going to take this up with our media panel in a moment, because it was quite a thing yesterday just watching that and seeing Sarah Sanders' reaction. I mean, she really felt it. Mercedes, thank you so much. I hope you come back.
Thank you.
All right. Are you tired of winning?
No, not at all.
Thank you,
not
Mercedes.
At all. I'm more tired with dealing with my kids these days than winning over here.
Well, you got 5 of them at home.
Daughters, right?
Yes, that's
Thanks
right.
for saying. Have a great
you.
weekend. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mercedes.